going to walk you through your clinical notebook, which you should have received in the mail, or it will be on its way if you have not received it yet. This will probably have a cover page on it, but you'll notice I have 3 hole punches here, so you can get a binder and put it in a binder to keep it nice and safe and take it with you to clinical each night. Each night at clinical, for the first 8 nights, I have laid out for you what you can expect of your first few clinical nights. So on your first night, you will most likely observe your preceptor, and it lists some things you might observe. It's likely your preceptor will quiz you on a few things. They should ask you some questions, and you should be prepared to answer them. I remind you that you might feel overwhelmed, and that's normal. And then I also remind you to try and learn new terms, phrases, and information. Take notes along as you get them. Then I have some objectives for you for the night. On the other side of this page is what we call your student experience. And it explains up here in the beginning that you're required to fill this out yourself, and at the end of the night you'll ask your preceptor to sign it with their credentials and email address. That's down here. But you'll fill all this in. You'll say where you're at for clinical, your name. If you're working with 2 patients that night, you'll mark what type of study you're doing. Are you doing a NPSG, meaning a normal first night study, a CPAP, or a BiPAP? And I know this is hard to read on the video, but you should have a copy soon. Or another type of study, and then same with patient 2. And then along here it has some items for you, and you're either going to mark yes, you observed it, no, you didn't, yes, you attempted it, no, you didn't. And then over here in the comments is if you got any feedback from your preceptor, you should jot it down because that's something important that you want to correct for the next time. Or maybe you just want to make notes, like maybe you did something but your preceptor helped you, so you could be more specific there. So the very first one is room setup ×2, meaning you have 2 patients. Did you set it up ×2 or not? And then you identify if you observed it or if you attempted it on your own. Next one down is administer or review the sleep questionnaire and verify all documents needed are complete. I assume your first night you'll probably observe your preceptor doing that, but then after the first night, hopefully you can start attempting some of that or helping along with it. So you're just going to go down the line here and answer those if you did them or not, and then any notes to go along with it. On this side of the page, these are all questions for you to answer, and for each clinical night, you're going to have different questions to answer. I highly suggest you read through these before you go to clinical and have a good idea of them, because some of the questions are going to be about what your facility that you're doing clinical at does, and others are going to be more general as far as standard of practice. So those might be questions that you maybe want to talk through with your preceptor, or maybe you want to let them know, hey, I need to answer these questions. What do you think about this? And you can have a good discussion to come up with a better answer. Also for your first clinical night, you will complete an event log. Put your name, the date of the clinical night, and then at the end of the night, put total hours that you spent at clinical there. In your event log, this is going to identify basically the types of experiences you had at clinical and what your patient was like. So like at what time did you do your BioCal? At what time did you do your lights out? And you'd want to explain here, if you do, let's say you did 10 p.m., event was lights out. Over here you'd want to say patient in the supine position, on room air, or if they're on CPAP, on CPAP. So throughout the night, if you make any changes in your sleep system, if you adjust any filters or sensitivities, that's something that goes on your event log. If you split the night with CPAP, that goes on your event log. If you have to fix any of the electrodes, that goes on your event log. If the patient gets out of bed, that goes on there. If you hear any external noises in the building, for example, maybe a fire truck drives by, you're going to put that on your event log, and in the explanation if there was a sound like that, if it disrupted your patient's sleep. So 2 items for each night that you are going to fill out. Okay, your student experience and your event log. And as you go through your clinical notebook, you'll see for night 2, I have some different things that you might expect on night 2, some different goals for you. If you turn it over, there's the stuff you fill out, some new questions, and your event log, okay? So you can flip through this, but I go all the way through night 8, okay? So clinical night 8. Oops, sorry everybody. Again, I have what you can expect, some goals for you. You flip it over, there's your documentation, a few more questions, and your event log. After that, after your 8th clinical night, you will still need to turn in an event log. You will not need to continue to turn in any more of your other documentation. Now, I will have event logs online that you can print off if you want extra ones, or you can just make it on a notebook. Copy what's on there, make yourself some columns. Time, I can't write like this. Time, event, notes. Okay, you can just use a notebook paper and make your event log on there. Just make sure you have your clinical site and your total clinical hours on there. Okay. 2 more things that are in your clinical notebook. If you get the opportunity to work with an out-of-center sleep study or a home sleep testing, maybe you get to help set a patient up at the beginning of the night, you're going to go ahead and complete one of these out-of-sleep center summaries, and you do get however many hours you spent doing that added onto your hours. So you just fill out this sheet and you would email it to me or upload it into Moodle. Same with if you get any opportunity to hang out with the physician in their clinic as they assess or discuss treatment plans with a patient. That'd be a great opportunity if it arises. These are not mandatory. These last 2 are not mandatory. But if you get the opportunity, I highly suggest you jump on them. That's valuable information for you to see how the physician interacts with the patient and what their role is. Okay, so that again concludes your clinical notebook. Make sure you take that to clinical with you every single night and upload the items in Moodle the next day. Thanks so much.